So, Nerf Alphastrike. I've modded a few over the years, and they've done quite well for me on the channel, I've got to be honest. This is my Tiger that fires ultra darts, and it still has the smart AR in it. That one, I never did a video on it, but it's just standard Pride Rainbow. But then we get on to the good stuff. So we've got my Mantis. That did me alright. That was a follow-up to my OG Alphastrike video. That one did alright. It was on my other channel. But then this one, my Wolf. That's the big hitter, that. Basically, I doubled the power on that. It hits somewhere around the 120, 130, occasionally 140. And that thing has near enough 25,000 views, which for a tiny little channel like mine, pretty good. Now, as I say, me and Alphastrike, we've done all right together. But this one, this has nearly broken me. It's the Alphastrike Lynx. It's pump action, single shot. There's another one. There's a handful of parts. There's some debris. Yeah, I can't seem to get this one to work, and it basically boils down to this section here. I don't know where that is. That would have a thing on it. That is where the AR lives, inside that section. And that's not too shabby, except you can't do anything to the back at all. Any kind of deformation here, and it just stops working. It will just jam up, won't fire. And then there's this. This is the barrel. You can't even attempt to drill it out because it just strains the plastic, and then if you do get it stuck, the whole pump action thing breaks off. So what I'm going to do, because that's two down, of course I have a third one, I'm just going to show you how to take the air restrictor out. That's all I can do at the moment. I could go deeper into it, which I tried. This one has, it's got a brass barrel and a spring upgrade, but it's no better because of things like that. All that stressing and different deformation, it basically means it's actually hitting worse. So what I'm going to do with a good one is I'm just going to... Wait, that's not... No, that's the good one. I'm just going to show you how to disassemble it, take all the clips apart, how to take the AR out. And then I'm not even going to try and brass it, but I may, because it's fairly easy, put a slight spring upgrade in there. We will have to see. I did promise you a Nerf mod. I was hoping with this one, I was hoping it was going to be slightly better. That's just to remind me that this one's crap. But unfortunately, it's something that I may revisit. So I'll show you how to take the yellow bit off, show you how to take the AR out. That's pretty much this video. Okay, obviously for comparison, we do need chrono readings. I don't have any new Nerf darts to hand, so I did get a bag of X-Shot, which, works just fine. But one thing I discovered trying to figure the other two out, old darts won't work in these. The barrels are just too loose. You'll get no power at all. The other thing I found is that if it is not hitting at least 60, it means it's broken. Because I had one, the one that I was working on, it was hitting 45. And as I was opening it up, it looked like somebody else had been in there and tried to modify it, broken it in a couple of places. So if it isn't hitting at least that, or 55, somewhere around about that. Let's try one more. Yeah. If it doesn't hit somewhere close to that, 60-ish, it means it's broken, so you might as well just chuck it out. Because these aren't available anymore, so you can only buy them second-hand. So if you do happen to have a chrono, if it isn't hitting that, it's not worth your effort. So now I will show you how to take it apart. In a change for Alphastrike, this one does actually have a screw in it. One single screw. For that you will need a Phillips screwdriver. And for all the little tabs and things, very, very small, thin, flat blade screwdriver. Okay, first thing you need to do is take the screw out of it, which is located in there. Okay, so you've got to take that out. It's in there. And that's the first thing to do, is take that screw out. So that's easy enough to do. It's quite a long screw as well, so just be careful. It might take you a while to do. I would always advise with one of these, if it's got screws in it, do it manually. Never use a powered screwdriver because, well, it's just that rubbish that you could end up stripping it, making it worse. Okay, so that's that out. That's fine. It's just basically you do that in order to make it easier to take the rest of it apart. Now with these clips, they're on the outside of the outer edge of the shell, as it were. Bring it up a bit. So they're on the outer edge of the shell. So there's on there. There's a couple there. Some up here. You have to go in from behind. So where the little nub is there, you have to go in from behind like that and push it down slightly, and it should start to separate. Okay, that's it. There is no order on these, I've got to be honest, because as I say, it's very badly put together. So you've got that one on the bottom there, and then you've got like 3 or 4 across the top, one at the back. But then these ones in the middle, you're not looking to get under that tab. You're looking to get under the orange piece. And then you just lift it up and then just squeeze it out like that, and it should pop. That is easier to do once the rest of them are apart, especially if you do these at the top. Okay, so if you get him separated from the top and the back, it makes these middle tabs a little easier to do. This one at the front here, that's a bit of a faff because it is very small compared to the others, hence small screwdriver. So again, you just get him in. Don't even know if this is in shot. Get him in and then just lever it down a bit, and it will eventually pop. Okay. Not easy doing it with the camera in front of you. And then that little one. This front section, because it is screwed together, it makes it a little harder to do. So I say there's no order. I would suggest that you start from the back and work forwards, because it just makes life a little easier. There we go. Okay, so yeah, if you start from the back of the blaster and across the top, and then separate the middle bit so that you can lever it like that a bit, then do these 2 at the front. And the reason these are a little more awkward to undo is because there's that running through the middle. Okay, and that basically holds the 2 halves of the blaster together. So once you take that off and you take that off, that is when this section will just come out like that. You don't need to worry about that. It's not going to hurt it. It's part of the priming mechanism. So there's your plunger tube, but there's your priming mechanism there, which that then hooks into when it's in the upright and prime position. That way up is easier to show you. So when it's locked and you're priming it, it's like that, and then when you're loading it, it's like that. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that bit coming apart. It's just when it comes to reassembly, just make sure that that hole is lined up, and then that tab there is lined up with that. Okay, this can all go away now, because this is the important bit. This is your barrel and plunger assembly and air restrictor. Now, one warning: any kind of deformation on this section around here, any of these rings or anything like that, and it will struggle to fire. It'll struggle to even ratchet back because these are so tight on the barrel that on the bit inside the blaster anyway. So these little clips here, this is where you need to undo it. But again, be very careful. You don't want to put too much stress on this. So you've got to do that one. Again, hence small screwdriver. And then just gently lever it over that tab. Like that. You know, apply a little bit of pressure if you want to. But then you've got to keep that pressure on as you go around to the other side and do the same again here. Which isn't easy. Try from that side. There we go. Okay. And then once that's free, oh, nearly. Once both of these are free, this section just comes apart like that. Again, very, very gentle because you don't want to stress any of this plastic. But that's where your air restrictor is. Right in there. Now, it does leave a lot of dead space. That whole section there is just dead space. But at the same time, this is where the actual plunger head impacts. So you need to be careful modifying this in any way, shape or form. You can, if you want to, put a hole through each one of those just to allow a bit more airflow. Or, which I might do in the future, is brass the entire length, cut all this out in here, and then just hot glue it, epoxy it, whatever, just to fill that dead space so that the barrel actually finishes over around here somewhere. Something I'm looking at in the future, but with the aborted attempts that I've had so far, that's how you take the air restrictor out. It is that clip there, very gentle, pull them apart, air restrictor is right there. Okay, that can then go into the bin. So now we're moving on to the body of the blaster. This big chunk of orange. Right here, there is a clip there, and there is a clip there. That holds the spring in place. It looks like the barrel narrows slightly, so that when it does, where even is that? Oh, okay. Wow, that's not so good. But yeah, that's where the spring is. It's a floating plunger head, so you need to be careful, again, with a bit of a leverage there, gently. If you just do one side, it should just fall off, basically. And then there's your spring, and where'd the screwdriver go? The other. Where's the other one? That's there. And then you need to basically push the plunger out the back, and it might get caught on the trigger mechanism. Oh, it did that completely out of shot. But yeah, plunger comes out from the back, and that's it. Alright, so I think, because taking the air restrictor out, I'm probably going to put a very minor spring upgrade in, and we'll see what that does. Okay, so I've basically got a very slightly cut down retaliator spring in the back of there. It feels a little bit more powerful, but it's one of them. Anyway, to reassemble, basically the plunger head goes in, then the spring, then this back cap, and then this whole section here literally just slots in, and then you have to align this here to make sure that that goes in as well, and then that's that. Then your little peg has to line up in the priming mechanism, and then you want the half of the shell with the slightly bigger tube on it. Yeah, that's probably the best way to word it, because that's the one that the screw feeds into, and that's the one the screw goes down. So that'll be that side. So you want to get that hole there lined up with that hole there. Okay, and then you feed that pipe very carefully in. Don't worry about lining up the rest of the shell yet, okay? Don't worry about clipping everything in. Flip him over, and then you have to see how this is slightly offset already, because it's trying to flop. So this is why I say don't worry about locking everything down yet. Again, just line that up, make sure that that feeds into that one. Okay, and then you just do up all the clips and re-screw it. So again, we're going around there, and then the front one is always a pig. Why is it being a pig? There, I've got it. Something won't click. This section down here can sometimes jam up a bit, so make sure that gets done properly, and then it should, emphasis on should, go together quite easily. Click, click. Don't be shy about being a bit rough with them either, because there we go. And then it's just a case of reinstall the screw, and then making sure it's threaded correctly. Don't cross thread it, don't try and split it or anything. And then screw it down. That's it. That is an AR removal and a spring replacement. I'm hopeful the spring's made a difference. I got to be honest, it might not have. But at least with the AR out, we should see a little improvement. And doing this way means I haven't damaged any of the internals, which means it should work fine. If you wanted to, you could add some fresh grease, well, any grease really, to the plunger head. And you could, like I say, in the back of this section, you could drill some holes in each quadrant there, you know, if you had, you know, access to a suitably sized drill bit and drill. So now we're going to do another couple of test shots and see where we're at. I will say, obviously, if you're going to take an air restrictor out, avoid dry firing, but this thing does sound a bit meaner on a dry fire, so that's, and it's a slightly harder prime, so I'm hopeful. I'm not going to be anywhere close to 3 figures, but if I can hit like 80, maybe 85, that'd be nice. And this would be a nice surprise for everybody. Okay. That did not sound happy. Alright, so we've gained 10 FPS. More or less. Yeah. This is one of those that they've tried to make it cheap, but as a result, they've made it overcomplicated. And because they're trying to make it cheap, the tolerances on the plastics are that fine that it can become a problem. My question would be, if in order to make it cheap, they've tried to save plastic, but that means they've had to literally be so close on the tolerances, was it worth it? But yeah, you can improve it. It's not the easiest thing in the world to work on, but then Alphastrike in general isn't. I am going to revisit this at some point. I reckon that a full brass barrel with all the dead space filled in, I reckon that would work, but it's going to be, you have to be so careful with it because the slightest mistake and your blaster's just garbage. And also, you know, grease and stuff like that. So that will do for now. That is how you disassemble and take out the air restrictor on one of these. It's not as easy as the Mantis where you just put a screw in it and yank, but it can be done. Not really worth doing because even with a spring upgrade, and it's like 10 FPS extra, I have now got it to Nerf normal, you know, of 70. So that'll do you for now. I will revisit this because, you know, surprise, surprise, I've also got the blue version. But yeah, I thought this would turn out better, I've got to be honest, but after 3 attempts, this is what you're getting. Anyway, you take care. I'll see you later.